Good morning, everybody. A warm welcome back, if you were joining us yesterday, to Spa-Francorchamps for part 2 of this latest heat, Heat 4 for the Ligier European Series. Very special track, it always is, and great that these cars can utilise the 7 kilometres of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. We've got exciting times on the horizon as well, with the first ever visit to Silverstone in a matter of weeks, and the season will end at Portimao. But some drama yesterday as far as the championship is concerned, because unfortunately there was a big crash for the number 6 entry in JS P4 when at the time Eco Segre was driving, just pushing a little bit too hard into Eau Rouge, as it is so easy to do, caught the curb, the car scampered away from him to the left and into the barriers quite heavily in front of that large grandstand at Raidillon. Thankfully, we understand car 6 has been repaired in readiness to take its 3rd position on the grid, but it's a pole again for Romain Bachler, who is a solo driver. We are seeing that the number 6 car is in that sequence that's just been released from the assembly area. Mathis Poulet, though, will start alongside Romain Bachler in another Trajectus Motorsport prepared car, but Loire Valley Racing is the official entry for yesterday's winner. Then it's Max Dodds who will start the number 6 car, Eco Segre to take charge of that somewhere between 24 minutes into the race and 26 minutes into the race to 37 minutes into the race. But that pit stop window has to be carefully adhered to. Christian Brooks then, 360 competition on the outside of the second row. Ruben Hage for ASM Motorsport in another car that starts from the 5th place alongside Iron Links by M Racing, Matteo Pianazzola. That car will need to have been repaired overnight as well after he plonked the concrete barrier on the start-finish straight. Let's give you the order in JS2 R as well, with VSF Sports and Stephen Palette, yesterday's race winner, the car that he shares with Lucas Papin. So number 18 coming home to score the maximum 25 points from the current championship leader, Simone Riccitelli, who will start second in this race as well. 23 events racing for August Turbo, just again scoring slightly fewer points than his championship rival. So the gap's opened up to, I reckon, 5 points now. 4 points, in fact. So it was 90, played 89, but now a slight advantage to Riccitelli yesterday. La Doucharbe and Noé de Cugnac comes next, alongside Martin Lacquemin and Cindy Goudet. They will be on the 5th and 6th rows. Then Miguel Romero for Petrogold, and the second of the VSF Sports cars for Florian Thiele. Clearly qualifying didn't go so well for Dario Cabinelas. That was the session he crashed out of yesterday and forced a little bit of a delay for the rest of the session. So car number 1, even though it's a JS P4, starts at the very back of the field. Yeah. Good morning, Graham Goodwin.
Good morning, everybody.
All cars exiting T15 have to assume the grid position.
The race director can tell you that car 1 has also got a further drama, because Dario Cabinelas will be flying solo today. Laura Villas apparently reporting she is unwell today, so it will be a solo drive. That has an effect on the pit stop time, Johnny.
Yes, it does, because it's considered an advantage if you're only driving with one pilot, because they're akin to the track conditions. They don't have to necessarily get used to the car and how it has been weathered through the course of the opening half an hour or so. So because of that, you have to spend 5 extra seconds in the pit lane.
All cars to drive through the grid boxes. 2 parallel line for the start, please.
So here we go, bright and early, 9:05 at Spa-Francorchamps. 1 hour of Ligier European Series racing about to burst into life. A cracking result yesterday for the 18 car in JS2R, for the 22 Loire Valley. Oh, but there's problems on the main straight as 1 or 2 didn't get away well at all. And there's a pile-up accounting for 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 cars. Now a spin for the repaired number 6. And another car goes into the gravel as a result. Romain Bachler's ahead of all of this, though. And the 6 car, which was leading the championship, still is leading the championship by a much smaller margin coming into Sunday, gets away with Max Dodds still at the wheel, but he's lost a hatful of places in the process. It happened right in front of our commentary position, and I noticed that mid-pack, one or two cars just did not or could not pick up the pace. We're straight into a safety car. That's not a massive surprise, because looking out to the right-hand side of our commentary box, I can see 1-2 cars not going to go any further.
Did seem to me, Johnny, as one of the JS P4s bogged down and was collected from the rear initially by another of the JS P4s. 33 cars involved, 19. The Trajectories car is in the gravel at Le Mans, and the 60 car in trouble right at the start. Let's watch again what happens here. Look to the right. It was the second row. It was the 33 car. It was then collected. Well, actually, it was almost avoided by the JS P4s, then collected by one of the JS2 Rs.
It was almost as if Christian Brooks got on the brakes because he realised he was getting far too close, but that's a huge wallop into the back of Matteo Pianazzola's car. Then Matisse Poulet and the 19 car tangled with Maxwell Dodds.
And the 6 car almost got away with it, but then was clattered by this car, the 17 car.
17, started by Miguel Angel Romero.
So, at the moment, that is basically bodywork only.
Yeah.
But there will be also some front end damage to the 6 car, because that car, I think, ran over the top of it. It's the 83 and the 33. So the 33 clearly is damaged. Serious damage, though, to the 83 car, having clattered the rear of, I think, this car, the 60.
So it's Christian Brooks who did the second stint yesterday. Christopher Preen opened things up on Saturday, and now Christopher's not going to get a drive. But Christian Brooks, whether he thought he was a bit too close to the car immediately ahead of him on the grid, which was Matisse Poulet in number 19, but there was just a big cloud of brake.
Yeah.
Well, big cloud of tyre smoke, in fact. So that was him checking up.
Was
and
it?
then the ripple effect.
I wonder if it was him checking up, or was it the car behind him trying to avoid, which he did initially before he was collected by the JS2R. I wonder if the smoke we saw came from Christian's car or from the 60 car behind.
Yeah, possibly. So that was Matteo Pianazzola, who has had a terrible day, or terrible weekend at Spa-Francorchamps, because he's been involved now in 2 separate incidents, one of his own making in the wet as he was trying to generate tyre temperature on Saturday afternoon, and nosed into the barrier. Was told to pit to repair that damage, and then they didn't have the spares in order to do that. Remember that the repair work, it's not really as part of a schedule in a mini endurance race like this, but it all has to be done in the endurance pit lane, and there's very little space there. Everyone's going to be threaded through actually the Grand Prix pit lane, because that is the safer option with so much debris out on the racetrack. There's a couple of cars that need to be recovered as well, and flatbeds on the scene. But remember, this is all counting towards the race distance, because the race clock began ticking down at exactly 9:05.
And remember too, if you're following this race with the aid of online timing and scoring, these will count as a pit stop, even though they're not stopping, or most of them won't. So at the moment we have the number 60 car in pit lane undergoing attention, the 19, the 33 and the 83 stationary, and as we saw, it was the, which car was it? The 84? No, it wasn't. It was the 17 car, wasn't it, in trouble as well. Watch again.
So Christian Brooks in that teal and black car, was that the car to lock up, or was it the one immediately behind? I think the smoke comes from Christian's car.
Right.
And then Pianazzola has nowhere to go. Well, he actually reacted fairly well.
He did.
It was the 83 then into the back, which is Martin Lacquaman, who collided with Pianazzola and pushed him into Christian Brooks. But in fairness, I think Lacquaman was completely unsighted by it all. Then there was the secondary moment, which was Maxwell Dodds tangling with Matisse Poulet. Poulet ended up in the gravel. Is running again, the number 19 car.
The 19 car is running again.
Surely they got him out of the gravel, yeah, and he's been able to continue.
19 car, not sure. No, I don't think the 19 car has rejoined.
Actually, we're not seeing any sector times, but that car's technically not damaged, certainly not as damaged as those that happened on the start-finish line. But it remains to be seen whether Poulet can be put back onto the track and whether he can continue to therefore give his teammate a drive, which would be nice.
All very messy, I'm afraid, to start this race. Goes to show minor error can have major consequences. Wait for which teams are going to clear the pit lane, and indeed, as expected, the damaged number 17 car remains there with Miguel Romero, joining Matteo Pinizzola, and that car has stayed on pit lane, so that would seem to be significant enough damage to take, well, they've lost a lap now for starters. That will effectively count them out of proceedings moving forward. But the cars that have not continued, number 19 Projectus Motorsport JS P4 of Mathis Poulet, Christian Brooks, as we saw on the start-finish straights in the 33-360 competition JS P4, and the 83 Projectus Motorsports JS2 R of Martin Lackermann. So that means that 2 of the 3 Projectus cars involved there. That is, I think, game over for the Petrogold 17 as well. It's the sorry sight at the front of the JS2R, and they clearly believe, one, there's too much damage to repair in the time available, and there may well be further damage that we can't see.
But that was just the smallest amount of contact for Miguel Romero, which initially rippled across the bonnet of the car, and then it wasn't until it got to Kemmel Straight when that bonnet entirely ripped free. And clearly it had broken 1 or 2 of the attaching points, and the bonnet then was at 90 degrees to the rest of the car and flapping away. But I thought actually initially Romero might have got away with that. He was due to be driving with Henri Cruz, so 1 Spaniard and 1 Portuguese, but Cruz had driving action yesterday, looking highly unlikely whether that he will get out onto the track today, sadly. So we've certainly 3 cars out and 2 in the pits, which might make it 5 this early on. So Christian straight on the brakes. That meant that Pianezzola was delayed, but it wasn't until Lackermann arrived on the scene, piling into the back of Pianezzola. Lackermann had very little warning because those cars immediately ahead of him saw what was going on, but he just didn't. That's a big hit, actually, pushing then Pianezzola further into Christian Brooks. What happened here, it was a spin for Maxwell Dodds, which then Mathis Poulet in the number 19 couldn't avoid. A Virage car, I think, goes out. Oh no, that's a 3 car that went out very wide. Amazingly, they've got through the gravel Pietro Ferri and rejoined, because the 3 car's still circulating and on the lead lap.
And this was the car that eventually caught the front of the spun-out Maxwell Dodds.
Yes.
Doesn't appear to have caused major damage to the number 6 car, but as you can see, catastrophic damage for the 17. They are out the race, as indeed seems to be Matteo Pianezzola. Got a better chance to have a look at the rear damage to that car. It was indeed fairly significant rear damage to the number 60 car.
But it's been a horror show of a weekend for Eco Segre and Maxwell Dodds. Non-finish yesterday because Segre's crash at Radion. They came here with a 29-point lead. Last thing they wanted was to crash out themselves and for Roman Bakler, who was closest in the championship, to take the win, but that's precisely what happened yesterday. Bakler leads this race, and Maxwell Dodds has now been delayed, dropping him to 17th overall, 10th in class. So there's an awful lot for them to do to even just finish second, let's say, and restrict the points lost to only 7. But if it is 7, that would put Roman Bakler into the championship lead, heading for Silverstone. So a significant swing in momentum as far as the championship is concerned. But I've got to say, Roman Bakler, even without the bad luck for car 6, does seem to be on an absolute tear. He's taken 3 sequential wins, 3 wins in a row, therefore. That makes it 4 for the season yesterday. He's leading at the moment. I know we're very early on in an hour-long race, but by the look of everybody else this weekend at Spa, he looks to have the measure on them.
Doesn't he just? He was very impressive yesterday. The field coming again back through pit lane, as you can see here on the start-finish straights. Number 1 issue is the fluid that's been down as a result of the contact, but the other separate part is the 83 car still in the process of being recovered. That's underway now. The car is just about on the back of the flatbed, so with a little bit of luck, this might well be the final safety car lap, but we'll a bit of hashtag wait and see for that.
It was a decent result for Lackermann yesterday. 5th position in the 83 Trajectus Motorsport car, but a non-finish now today. So the other cars that Trajectus have in the JS2Rs, Martin Tabary, who is Belgian, racing, I think, in his first ever Ligier European Series race at a home event, and it'd be great to have Martin do a few more this season. And then Trajectus have a couple of cars, in JS P4 as well, including, well, they did have Mathis Poulet. We reckon he's also a retirement. But the Loire Valley racing car, driven by Roman Bacla, is prepared by Trajectus Motorsports, so they could still get a class win.
Make clear as well, the team owner, Trajectus Motorsport, a name well known in endurance racing, multiple Le Mans winner, Benoit Treluet. Great to see Benoit back in a sports car paddock in a operational sense, and the car's always immaculately prepared as well. Unfortunately, they're going to need to be immaculately repaired for this one.
Indeed, no sign of the Petrogold or the Iron Links by M Racing cars returning to the race.
So I'm sure done.
We're down to 19 runners, but a splendid 24-car entry here this weekend.
The surprise for me is the Trajectus number 19 car. That did not look that significant a hit, but was there something transferred through the drivetrain by the shock of the impact? Either way, Mathis Poulet is not continuing. Christian Brooks, we know, heavily damaged that car. As we said, the 83 car with pretty much the front end missing after a very significant double contact for that car.
Unless there's been an issue getting a Manitou or similar to the scene of the 19 car in time, but generally speaking, if there's a crash that's happened in the first corner of an hour-long race, the marshal's job is to put you into a safe location onto hard standing, and then there's nothing wrong with you rejoining the race. And it might have been possible to do that had the car been in a fit state to do so before it went a lap down. But I think I agree with you in that either gravel's got into all the wrong places or it's actually done something to
suspension,
the
toe link, something like that. But yeah, absolutely. That's of all the cars that we've seen that visually you could explain, that's the one that's the outlier. But either way, we've been now 2 laps under the safety car and no sign of the number 19 car rejoining, and it's at this point not too late.
The safety car is going to be in this lap, so we will be properly racing by the end of what is lap 3, and still a good chunk of time on that race clock, 47 minutes. Roman Bacla with it all to do again, because Ruben Hage is on his tail for ASM Motorsport. He's in second. Jude Peters is third for Team Virage, and the 2 Pegasus racing cars in JS P4 are 4th and 5th.
And one of the cars to watch, of course, we said a little earlier, down in 17th place, 10th in class, title contenders, the number 6 car. Maxwell Dodds gets his opportunity here. Green flags are beginning to wave. I can see from our commentary booth window the cars coming down towards the bus stop to restart this race. Johnny Palmer, let's hope for some solid green flag running.
The other issue for Maxwell Dodds, yes, he's 10th in class, but he's got 7 JS2 Rs in order to overtake as well. They'll be slightly easier to pick off, but timing will be crucial there. You don't want to hurry up that mechanism, that manoeuvre, and then compromise the run to try and hunt down these JS P4s. We are racing again through that quick dry, which, oh, and there's another lock-up. Does everybody stop in time? Yes, just about. My fear there was that Ruben Hage was going to pile into the back of Roman Bacla on cold tyres and cold brakes, but Bacla gets through La Source, and we have a change of position for second. Through goes Jude Peters to pick off Ruben Hage, or really to capitalise on that mistake for the ASM Motorsport driver. Julien Schell, David Cosenel for Pegasus Racing, both running 4th and 5th. And it'll be the Le Dusarbe car of Noé de Cunha, number 50, leading Stephen Palette, who was yesterday's race winner. Jude Peters, though, under huge pressure now from Ruben Hage, who maybe can brake later as long as he makes the corner. Another big lock-up, though, prevents the next JSP4 from going through Le Com in the conventional sense. That might have been Andre Vieira ahead of Stephen Palette, who has got ahead of Noé de Cunha. So actually Palette wasting no time at all, forcing his way by the Le Dusarbe car, and VSF Sports, number 18, now leads the secondary class in the Ligier.
Yeah, Roman Bacla getting away here as the cars behind have a 2-3 car tussle. Reporting updates on the number 6 car. That car already by timing sector 1 up to 15th place and chasing down a couple of JSP4s ahead. and the JS2 R pack. So expect to see further progress there for Maxwell Dodds. Also delayed, by the way, the 88 team for Oshkar and Ralkabaisi starting that car. So there are plenty of action potentially to come. Drive-through penalty, by the way, is going to come the way of Ruben Hage for causing a collision. So the third place car here, Ruben Hage, it's actually the second place car at the moment, isn't it? Is going to be coming down pit lane for a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, so great overtake in response from Ruben Hage, having made that mistake at La Source on the first, or I suppose second proper racing lap. We were racing initially, but then very quickly went into a safety car. But now difficulties for Hage, which will drop him further down the order. Hage will slip behind Peters and these two cars that are nose to tail for Pegasus Racing, Julien Schell and David Cosenel. And at least they have sights on Jude Peters, who's running a net second now.
So Jude Peters way wide through the exit of Stavlo there. Needs to keep an eye on that as this race gets deeper. Will attract the attention of race control without a shadow of a doubt. So it's Ruben Hage going to take that drive through immediately. There's not instant evolving cars 12 and 22 at turn 1 under review, causing a collision.
Well, the other thing is, presumably, when these cars pit, they use the endurance pit lane. So when you get a drive-through penalty, aren't they not going to use the endurance pit lane to do that as well? So that has to be done after La Source. But you're right that still Ruben Hage hasn't done that. We've got the peculiar situation where cars are being shown as having pitted 4 times, but not even in their conventional pit lane, because they were using the Grand Prix pit lane to avoid the carnage on the main straight.
It's actually shown as 2 stops per car because you're timed in both pit lanes.
Yes.
So what we're seeing is pit, out, pit.
Yes.
So the 4 stops is actually 2 runs through the full pit lane.
Gotcha. Because, yeah, we were, 2 laps under the safety car, 2 times 2, 4 visits to the pit lane, strictly speaking. We will get one more of those from the 27 minutes into the race, and we've already had 17 minutes of it, so 10 minutes away from potentially making a pit stop. And remember, this being a long track, we actually had a safety car when the pit lane opened yesterday, and a misjudgment from one, thinking, well, we could miss out the opportunity to pit on the first lap and the second lap, and by the third lap it was too late. So the question is, how large is that window going to be, and how many attempts could you potentially have at making your mandatory pit stop?
So it's a bit of a moment at turn 12, but continued.
So Loire Valley Racing's Roman Backler comfortably ahead. That was the 6th car again.
Well,
Maxwell Dodds.
Just about to say, he recovered up to 10th place, but that's undone all that good work from Maxwell Dodds. Safety car.
And he's stuck in the gravel.
What a disastrous weekend this pair have had.
Eco Segre with the mistake yesterday. Maxwell Dodds starts the race today. That means that each of the 2 drivers in all of the cars that have 2 drivers get a chance to start the race, but a huge delay now. Even if he is able to be taken out of that gravel by the marshals, he's going to go a lap down, and that means very likely he'll finish probably outside of the top 10 within category as well. So if they score 0 and Roman Backler goes on to win, it's a bigger advantage clearly for Roman Backler. I mean, Backler trailed by 29 points. He's not going to lead by 29 points leaving Spa, but he will have a lead over anybody within that championship, with only now 4 races after this to go. It's
an unusually messy Ligier European Series race, I'm afraid, this morning. Normally speaking, it's got to be said, the on-track discipline has been fantastic this year, and the racing, with this deeper field. 24 cars here. It's regularly been 26 this season. And by the way, happy to tell you, expectation is that is going to grow again into 2026. It's provided great, usually early morning entertainment on the European Le Mans Series bill. Looking forward to seeing how they cope with the Silverstone track next. Presuming that is just a sport parachutist and the Ligier doesn't have an ejector seat for Max Dodds.
Yes. And that's unlikely to be the 4 Hours of Spa ELMS trophy arriving, although it would be a great way to deliver it. Yeah, true, for later. tends to happen at Le Mans with the starting flag, the tricolore, but
it's usually rappelling out of a helicopter.
Yes. Well, yes, true, on ropes, isn't it? Descending on ropes rather than coming in by
Nice, by the way,
parachute.
in recent years they've decided not to practice that at 5 AM on a Friday over my caravan, which they did for
I was
many
told
years.
you always enjoyed that.
Do you like a big chopper first thing in the morning?
Insert your own joke. Maybe Graham already has, in actual fact. The number 6 car is going to be recovered to hard standing, and I don't think it's a lap down yet, but it's a long, long way back. And the next question is, can Maxwell Dodds restart the car? He can.
He can. Come on.
So he's going to leave the scene. They're now just working their way through the left-hander at Speaker's corner, and he fell off at Le Fagne, which is turns 12 and 13.
Just waiting for him to clear that timing beam. And has he done so?
Well, he's not going to be overtaken by the safety car, I wouldn't have thought. And now there's no reason why he can't pick up the pace whilst everybody else is restricted to the safety car speed. These cars not carrying GPS technology as far as I know, so it's actually all going to be triggered by the timing on our track map and tracker.
He's going to be very significant. Oh, he's still not managed to get away. So he is, I think, going to be overtaken by the... I think
will be now. I thought there was some fire in the belly, but perhaps not.
No, I think he's done, isn't he?
That car is moving. It's just not on level ground.
No, he's been towed.
Still being towed, right? Okay. I thought that Marshall had detached the towing strop, but they are now. Yeah, just.
I think he tried to get moving, and something is not cooperating.
Maybe a similar situation to Matisse Poulet.
Might very well be. That's a real shame.
Something's broken within the gravel.
He's looking forward to a bit of a chase there, but that's not to be by the look of things. So whatever happens at this point, it's going to be a lap down for the 6 at best, and I suspect it's worse than that.
So in a worst case scenario, Roman Bachler wins this race with regard to Eco Segre and Maxwell Dodds, and they will therefore trail by 21 points. When they had a 29-point advantage coming here to Belgium. So it's a big swing in the championship chase, but Roman Bachler hasn't yet reached the end of this race, and he hasn't yet won it, so we can't speak too soon.
Well, 21 points is the points difference between first and second place in a race, and we've got 4 races to go after this one, and the 6 is now moving, but has lost the lap.
Oh dear.
Oh, that's rotten luck.
And
is also spreading gravel everywhere.
Well, that's not helpful too. Certainly gravel dust being spread. So yeah, that was immediately after the car rejoined.
Oh, that's a lot of gravel.
Everyone will be given warning that the track surface could be a tad unpredictable at turns 12 and 13. The yellows are still being flown because the recovery vehicle will be heading back to its safe location.
I'm hearing Max Dodds is getting immediate job offers from councils up and down the UK to drive their gritter trucks.
Yeah, very useful in winter, but less so in August here at Spa-Francorchamps. So there'll be plenty of drivers who will be rather regretting the fact that that has been done. But, you know, Maxwell Dodds wants to get back into the race. Sometimes the instruction is try and stay offline.
He is actually rejoined the back of the queue, albeit a lap down.
Yeah.
So we'll at least get the opportunity to make some rapid progress in terms of track position, if not overall positions. Well, there you go. 35 minutes, or just under 36 minutes to go. We're under the safety car for what we presume will be the final lap before being released, and that's because of the gravelly moment for Maxwell Dodds in the number 6, the luckless number 6 car here this weekend.
We might be in a situation where the pit lane is open for legitimate pit stops partway through this race at the end of this lap.
We're going to be close to it. It's about a 4:46 lap behind the safety car.
Yeah.
And where are they at the moment? They're just clearing sector
1. So that takes about a minute. And the pit lane will technically be open in 2 more minutes. So
absolutely, that pit lane is going to be open.
Bearing in mind as well that the pit lane is after the first corner in this configuration of Ligier's. So if the safety car comes in
Well,
that will allow everybody to start racing, but it might be that the leaders come straight in, so there's potential for a tangle there as well.
Well, sensibly, if you're Roman Berkler, you've got a clear track ahead of you, you stay out.
Yeah.
And there's no advantage to him. There's no, he's driving solo.
Indeed.
So what Roman Berkler does, I guess, is he gets out there, stays out there, and gets the hammer down. He stands potentially to lose more in a busy pit lane.
You might be wondering why Ruben Hage hasn't come in to serve his drive-through penalty. Well, you're not allowed to do that whilst the safety car remains out on track, because it's a penalty, and it wouldn't serve as a penalty other than losing positions behind the safety car, but you wouldn't lose time as such.
Confirming safety car is in this lap. We're at 26 minutes now, so 60 seconds more, and the safety car is at turn 15. It is pulling away from the field. Frankly, the more that Roman Berkler can back him up, the better for those certainly towards the front of this queue. But I think they are going to comfortably be within the pit stop window at this point. We're at 26 minutes and just under 30 seconds. Now, you know what? It is going to be quite tight for the front of this queue.
Well, they've got to cross the line and go through the first corner. So by the time they've gone through La Source, I think they'll be fine. 20-odd seconds to go. What do you do from a Ruben Hage perspective? Because
he's got to
do a pit stop.
He's got to do it twice.
But they've got to do a drive-through. But clearly, normally the reaction time is, what, 3 laps to respond to a drive-through penalty, but that doesn't count when you are behind the safety car.
Pit window is open now, by the way.
Do you get your pit stop done out of the way first?
Yes.
And then
yes,
the replacement driver next time around will have to come through to do the drive-through penalty. Movement further back, and that is for the Team Virage car of Dario Cabinelas. Solo driving today because Laura Villa's unwell.
Ruben Hage has indeed come in, as is one of the Virage cars. So, but is this the drive-through, or is this the pit stop?
That's precisely my question.
So it's the number 1 car, Dario Cabinelas is in. The 44 car of Andre Vieira is in. And they are, I think, amongst the only takers. And just looking a bit further down the line here as to whether or not we've got any of the JS2 Rs that take the opportunity. They have not. So just 3 cars on this first lap.
Yeah.
So at the moment, Roman Berkler being harried by a group led by Duke Peters, David Cossonel and Julien Schell.
Hage does the drive-through. He doesn't do the regular pit stop because he has re-emerged again, still with Ruben Hage at the wheel. Squeal of tyres at Le Mans. That was somebody losing it, or maybe going straight on via the escape road.
I wonder if he's done that just to avoid any potential stumble of regulations.
Also, one of the Virage cars at Bruxelles almost running out of road. Didn't make the gravel trap, though. So the 1 car we described, Dario Cabinelas, is in. Andre Vieira in the 44 car is in, but they are the only pit stoppers. There was a drive-through penalty in the middle of that, which was car 12, but Ruben Hage will pit next time around when the window will still be open. This is less difficult to judge than yesterday when we were in a safety car pretty much all the way through the pit stop window, which is 7 minutes. But 7 minutes is a lot less on a 7-kilometre circuit compared to one that's maybe 4 or 5 Ks.
Yeah, slippery surface flags out at 12:13. That's for the gravel that was down. That's what Dodds rejoin.
Roman Berkler leads, and it was a decent lead of nearly 4 seconds before the safety car, so he's having to work again to try and create that. Now an interloper between the 2 Pegasus racing cars is Pietro Ferri. Remember, Ferri was involved in the first corner incident. He had to go through the gravel as well, but kept the momentum and rejoined, still on the lead lap. And Ferri now is really wound up to try and work his way into the top 3 positions. He's got ahead of Julien Schell, so that means that Cossonel overtook Schell before all that happened. And the Pegasus racing cars are now 3rd and 5th.
Just watching Maxwell Dodds make his way through traffic to unlap himself. Remember, this is not positions in the race. 22 and 27 amongst the first down the pit lane. So the lead 2 cars. Peters, good lap back to green there. Kept Roman Berkler very honest. Also down pit lane, Pietro Ferri. 23 events, all got turbo and stream of JS2Rs, but not including Johnny the race leading JS2R, Number 18 car, Steve Paulette, continues, as do both Pegasus Racing cars. They now lead, David Castanel and Julien Schell, and Hamda Al-Khabaisi stays out in the 88 Team Virage Gun 2.
We don't yet know what Ruben Hash is doing. Looks like he did pit on that occasion. Car 12, yeah, he stayed out again. So he's now running in 6th position, having served that drive-through penalty, but waiting to do the driver swap, the driver change to Luis Perez.
Potential further dramas for car 12 under investigation, crossing the pit exit red light. We'll come back to that in a moment. And the 50 car, that is the Les Deux Arbres of No de Cuno, JS2R, 10 seconds added to the next pit stop for a start infringement. I think what's happened here, Ruben Hage has tried to get out and stick with the group, and he's forgotten at that point that the red light is going to be on because the safety car train has not cleared the second timing line. If that's the case, that's pretty much a disaster.
Yeah.
And he might well end up with 3 pit stops here.
At the point that he did the drive-through penalty, the safety car wasn't on the track anymore, but I just wonder whether, because the tail enders were still working their way through Radion, the red light was on because the exit road wasn't clear, or we hadn't fully gone back to green everywhere. I'm puzzled as to why that red light was still on, in truth, because there were others that had come in the pit lane to do their 135 second stop.
You're entirely right.
Yeah, so...
Again, there might be a peculiarity in the regulations that talks about the first lap back to green and the pit lane exit.
Yes.
Because, of course, the entire field is going to be in close contention. That would actually be reasonably sensible. You don't want someone filtering out into a grid trying to get themselves sorted back out. Did I just see that? I think I did. That Roman Berkler was beaten out the pits there.
Last minute call there for David Cosenel in the 29 car as well. Sorry, Julien Schell. Cosenel's already in, so Schell in 29 and Hamda Al-Khabaisi coming in as well in number 88. Stephen Paulette needed to do a pit stop there and then because he would have run out of time in order to do it next time around. My other thought now is Ruben Hage, when he came in to do his drive-through, he did pick the right pit lane, didn't he? He came in after La Source rather than...
Yes, I think he did.
There's a little confusing element, having come through the other pit lane during the safety car period, and you might think, oh, to do a drive-through, I've got to use that one at the chicane, but I don't think he did. Anyway...
I can tell you, by the way, Roman Berkler was beaten out the pits by both Jude Peters and Pietro Ferri, so even on the adjusted order, with all the cars ahead of those 3 now on pit lane and should remain on pit lane in time for these guys to go by. Well, Jude Peters has run wide and has been overtaken by the 3.
Remember, though, we had this issue yesterday. Driver IDs have changed for these cars now, so Jude Peters got out. I would have expected him to get out and hand over to Vic Stevens.
Right.
So Vic's in the number 27 car now. Michael Bulsa-Kelly drives the LR number 3, the LR Motorsport car, and that's why they're being quicker than Roman Buckler, who had to spend 5 extra seconds in the pit lane.
Absolutely right, and it looks to me like Roman Buckler looking up the inside here. Can he get there? Can't. He'll be in a hurry to get by here. So that's the difference those 5 seconds makes. It's 2 positions on track.
Absolutely.
This trio coming back now down towards the bus stop to complete lap 10, with the cars ahead of them, as I say, still stationary on pit lane. And the move is made there by Berkler. He's now back up to what at the moment is 8th place, but they will inherit 1, 2, 3 in just a few moments' time. Or will they? Because here comes the Team Virage car around the outside. Can he hold that? He cannot.
But a good challenge, a re-challenge from Vic Stevens. And Stevens isn't going to give this up, in fairness. Now drawing level with
He's got him. He's got him.
So much better drive out of La Source. Here comes everybody else, though. The 6 cars that pitted ahead. But they are going to feed back in behind this top 3. So it is Michael Bulsa-Kelly now who will lead in car 3. Vic Stevens in the 27 car second. Roman Buckler thought he'd cleared the Team Virage car to make it into second, but he's still third. And then a whole crowd rejoining the race. having made their mandatory pit stop, 6 of them.
Headed by Yuki Tanaka in the number 16 Pegasus racing car. Then behind that, I think, our lead car in JS2R. That is Lucas Papin. I'm looking here and I can't see anybody that's busted the time limit, so that's a great turnaround from VSF Sports before 2 Team Virage cars. Dario Cabanellas, who has served his additional 5 seconds as a solo driver. And is it still Hamda? It's not. Hamda didn't start, did she? Hamda started.
I've got a grid sheet here, so let me just check. It was Hamda who started, so Amnar Al-Khabazi will
That's
take
another
over.
one that the driver identification will need to be adjusted. And Andre Vieira comes out 8th. Christoph Weber for the Pegasus 29 car at 9th. And then the 10th car in the order is the second of the JS2Rs, 23 events August Turbo. Simone Riccitelli in LR Motorsports number 7 car, 3rd in JS2R. But the big winner there was the 18 JS2R Lucas Papin. Looks to me to be spot on with their pit stop timing, and that has served them well.
Yeah, it's well, through the latest split, that will bring Papin a little closer to the second place fight in JS2R, but it was all down to a cracking opening stint for Stephen Palette. And Palette was well clear of everybody else. He left his pit stop till as late as he possibly could. 1 lap later and he would have been out of the pit stop window. 84 trajectors, I think that was.
There was Martin Tapari on Alan Meyer, and that's for 7th place in the order. And Tapari making his way up the order here. Stop and go penalty for the number 12 car. That is plus 6 seconds crossing pit exit red light. That is confirmed as being a further problem for the number 12, which I think has yet to serve. No, they did serve, didn't it? It served its drive-through. It's now done its penalty. It's a correct stop, and now will serve a penalty stop. So ASM Motorsport now in the hands of Luis Carlos Perez Cabello. That car, whilst making its way up the order, is going to tumble back down again.
I just wonder whether there's a rule on a lap coming out of a safety car that every car behind the safety car that remains on the track has to clear the pit lane exit area before you can then rejoin the race.
I'm sure that's right.
And that makes sense from a safety perspective. And of course, the cars that were coming in for a regular pit stop, it wasn't a problem for them because they were going to sit for a minute, for 130 seconds or 135 seconds, whereas Ruben Hage was going in and out. And in actual fact, he couldn't do it as quickly as he wanted to. He was thinking, right, let's get this drive-through out of the way as quickly as possible, and has blown the red light because he just was eager to get back into the race.
Roman Berkler's dropped off this lead pair.
Yes.
He's not having it his own way here, and there's actually track limits on this lap as well. So Roman Berkler in the second part of the race. Whether or not he's driving a conservative stint here, 22 minutes to go, remains to be seen, but he's not got the pace he had. It's not Jude Peters, is it? Vic Stevens, fastest lap of the race, by the way. 2:25.801 was passed as they came back on track by the previous race leader, Roman Berkler. Retook that position, is now harassing Michael Bulsicelli for the overall race lead here.
The other thing is, Vic is Belgian, so he knows this track very well indeed, I would suggest. Knows perhaps 1 or 2 secrets that Michael Bulsicelli is yet to unlock. And yet, I'm not perhaps surprised that Vic's looking like the quickest car within that top 7 or 8 right now. Bit of a lock-up for the number 16 Pegasus car. And that's now being driven by Yuki Tanaka, as you mentioned. Vic Stevens is now into the lead of the race.
So into the bus stop.
Outbraking Michael Bulsicelli. And last minute dive down the inside there, and actually got ahead then of the number 3 car. Brilliant. Really good, because that's only a very short straight between the 2 chicane elements.
Yeah, the dive, relatively simple. Getting the car stopped, turned, and in the right position to take the optimum line for the second element of the bus stop, significantly more difficult. Beautifully done.
Because ordinarily that would only give you the outside line for turn 19, which is the left-hand bit of the bus stop, but he jumped ahead of Bulsicelli even before the turning point. So congratulations to Vic. And the signs are that the 27 cars now just going to disappear up the road, although Bulsicelli, this is a good yardstick for him to just stick with Vic Stevens and maybe learn some of the idiosyncrasies of Spa-Francorchamps from a local.
I'm beginning to think Roman Berkler may have a problem because his lap times are nowhere close. Big lock-up from the number 3 car. Roman Berkler's lap times not where they were, so we'll keep an eye on that. He's got a comfortable lead over Dario Cabanellas, who's having a great solo race at the moment, the number 1 Team Virage car. And I'll keep an eye too on the progress of Ico Segre. At the moment he's 100 seconds back from the next car in the actual order, which is Alain Meyer in the JS2 R. He sits in 11th place in JS P4, so 1 place outside point scoring. So he'll be looking for another of the JS P4s to have a problem to try to restrict the damage from this weekend.
So from Roman Berkler's perspective, I suppose it's a good thing for him that Ico Segre and Max Dodd's car is so far down with that issue at Le Fagna, which eventually put Maxwell Dodds' car at the time a lap off the pace. Ico Segre has since taken that car over. However, behind Roman Berkler prior to this weekend in the championship, Jude Peters and Vic Stevens, trailing by 20-odd points. But there is a chance now that they could start to work their way towards a more attacking position within the championship, and it would certainly be a great thing for them to win this race, to put them back into chances to score well at Silverstone and Portimao. So Roman Berkler's thinking, well, cars ahead of me, are they that important? Vic Stevens definitely is.
Well, to give you an idea here, they're both the lead 2 cars with 225s. Roman Berkler 228.
Yeah,
3 seconds off.
I agree that that's not the sort of speed we were seeing from Berkler yesterday, and clearly
or even earlier today.
Well, at the start of the race, agreed. It does all seem to have happened after the pit stop,
yeah.
So sometimes cars don't like being stopped partway through a race and don't quite feel the same piece of kit in the second phase. But
he's got managing gear shift problem, maybe a little down on power, something. But something's not right with that. He is being caught by Dario Cabanellas steadily. Just a second quicker, 6.5 seconds back, so that's one to watch as well. Who, by the way, is being chased by Andre Vieira. So with 17 minutes to go, Roman Berkler needs to manage this pace if he's not to lose further points in this battle.
Great times being shown now by Simone Riccitelli. Riccitelli behind his championship rival August Turbo. This race began with them separated by 4 points. Riccitelli above Turbo, but now Turbo leads JS2R, so he's on course for the maximum 25 points, and Riccitelli is only 3rd. So the first hurdle in Riccitelli's way will be the green and white car from VSF of Lucas Papin.
Just a quick look there at the battle in number 1, Team Virage car, Dario Cabanellas and Andre Vieira in the ASM Motorsport number 44. They're battling for 4th place, but they're also dragging each other towards Roman Berkler for the final overall podium spot. Car 22, and that is Roman Berkler. 10 seconds added to the race time for pit stop infringement. He's off the podium.
Blimey, it's all kicking off then now in this latest race within Heat 4 of the Ligier European Series.
Which, by the way, is great news for the rather stricken number 6 crew in this championship battle. That is going to cost him a whole hatful of points.
Massively so, and as I say, if it wasn't to be Ico Segre and Maxwell Dodds winning this race, the next worst case scenario for Roman Berkler is if Jude Peters and Vic Stevens win it. Well, they're building a reasonable margin, but in fairness to Michael Bulzachelli, he's sticking with Vic Stevens. They're only separated by less than a second through the latest splits. Not quite as close as this fight, though, for 4th and 5th places, with Andre Vieira all over the back of Dario Cabanellas in the blue-roofed Team Virage car. This is the number 1 car carrying that number because Virage were champions last year with Hayden Chance and Theo Mercuris.
Yeah, and by the way, catching another second on Berkler, who's got that 10 seconds to add. So I think they're going to get to him before the end of this race, and then he's got the 10 seconds.
Amnar Al-Kubaisi's not that far away either from that duo fighting. Vieira's got ahead now of Cabanillas, did that into, or just before the turn-in at Les Combes. Good run up the Kemmel Straight.
10 seconds at the moment for Romain Berkler. We're dropping 3 further positions, all of them to JS P4 cars. Lucas Papin, by the way, has dropped back behind August Turbo.
Yes, yes, I noted that, but I wasn't sure whether the overtake had happened. But Papin is maybe not as quick as Stephen Palette, and Simone Riccitelli's now trying to work out a way of getting by Papin, because Riccitelli wants to get as close as he can to Turbo to make sure that Turbo's not going to outscore him too much. Remember, it's only a slim advantage for Riccitelli, and it could swing into the favour of Turbo. If Turbo can win, Riccitelli finishes second. Remember, the points difference there is 7, and at the moment it's only 4 in the favour of Riccitelli. So Turbo would take the championship lead heading into the final 4 races if those places stay the same, or even if Riccitelli gets into second.
So keep an eye, by the way, on the progress. Running out of time, 14 minutes to go. For Eco Segre to score a point, he needs to pick up something over a minute on Christoph Weber, who is struggling at the moment somewhat. It's just we've just seen him drop back behind not only the number 12 ASM Motorsports JS P4, but also the JS2R of Noah De Cunha. So Weber's pace, not what it could be. Currently he is, how many seconds? 13 seconds on that lap dropped to Eco Segre. Nip and tuck, but the number 6, if it gets an untroubled run, and if that is really Christoph Weber's pace at this part of the race, there could be a point here in prospect for ANS Motorsport.
Lucas Papin in the green and white VSF Sports car ahead of Simone Riccitelli, who's right in behind for LR Motorsport, number 7. The car ahead of them is not on the same lap. No, it is. That's August Turbo, beg your pardon. So first, second, third, all together. And what's going to change here? It feels like something will in the remaining 12 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, Simone Riccitelli, though, has just got a warning for track limits. So got to be really careful right now.
Yeah. But in fairness to Papin, even though he dropped behind Turbo by a few seconds, I thought, he's back with August Turbo now. And this is going to be a grandstand finish in the JS2Rs. It's actually pretty similar in JS P4, although there are only 2 cars currently for that race lead. In full fairness to Michael Bulzer-Kelly, though, he hasn't allowed Vic Stevens to disappear up the road, as now the 58 car has a lock-up into La Source. That is Jacques Nicolet. HB Racing.
He's been caught by the number 12 car of ASM Motorsport, Luis Perez Cabello, looking set to challenge Jacques Nicolet before the end of this race for 8th place in class. And those 2 just outside the overall top 10.
Papin with a slightly better exit out of Bruxelles corner. So they head down the hill now towards Pouhon, the double left-hander, with a bit of runoff there if you do make a mistake, but there's also a very large gravel track that was introduced a couple of seasons ago. So this racetrack has never been that forgiving in truth, but it is more difficult to negotiate. Also corners like Le Fagnes, as Maxwell Dodds found out, because you've only got to run a little bit wide before you find a very big gravel bed, which is so tricky to get out of. You could throw a blanket over the top 3 within JS2R. Turbo, Papin, Riccitelli, watching one another's moves so closely.
I'll tell you, by the way, that 2:28 we talked about a little while ago for Romain Berkler, that is his pace right now. That definitely is carrying a problem. Remember, that car will have 10 seconds added. That will, at this stage, drop him 3 further places back down the order, and each of those carry weighty points deficits as he tumbles back, either on track, which is distinctly possible in the last 10 minutes of this race, or with a 10-second penalty post-race.
Still nothing between the top 2. On occasion, Vic Stevens looks like he might be able to pull away a car length here or there, but Bulzer-Kelly is reacting.
Good race between the 2 of them. It has been since they rejoined post the regular pit stops. We saw Romain Berkler just drop back and continues to drop back. By the way, the gap on track with that pace deficit is 16 seconds, and that's not what we've seen by an untroubled Roman Berkler either yesterday or in the first half of this race.
Through the kink, onto the Kemmel. Turbo in the all-black car ahead of the VSF Sports with the Massif branding for now Lucas Papin. That car started by Stephen Palette. Remember, the cars either side of him, Turbo of Denmark, Riccitelli of Italy, are on the solo drive, so both had to spend a little longer in the pit lane compared to the two-driver lineup in car number 18. So that was another reason why Papin came out with a significant advantage, I suppose. He gained 5 seconds in that mandatory pit stop. Bulsa-Kelly still not to be shaken by Vic Stevens, despite Vic's local knowledge of this place. They're heading towards Blanchimont, whereas at Pouhon, the top three in JS2 R still as close together as they have been for the last few laps.
Yeah, the last 9 minutes now, that looks like it's going to the flag, that battle, doesn't it? Meantime, Andre Vieira is not far away from the back of Roman Berkler to take this position on track for the final podium place. Behind Vieira is this pair.
Amno's through. Amno's pulled it off around the outside of Blanchimont corner.
I think Cabanillas may have a problem.
Well, maybe, but also cracking racing between the two Virage cars. I don't think Cabanillas was going to force the issue too much there, because he was well aware that Amna Alkebasi is driving a team car.
Yeah, but Cabanillas was previously in 4th. He's dropped now to 6th, and his pace has dropped off. So I think Dario Cabanillas may have a bit of a problem.
What I can't remember is whether Cabanillas was involved at all in the start line incident.
No, he was fine. He came through that. He avoided that neatly.
I know there wasn't a big impact, but there could have been a little side-to-side something that has now maybe cracked an exhaust or similar, as Bulsa-Kelly is shaping Vic Stevens up. Again, this is peculiar for the 27 car, because at times it looks significantly faster than the chasing American. Then there are other phases of the race where Bulsa-Kelly looks to have the stronger machine. Riccitelli very close to Lucas Papin, almost was able to dive down the inside at La Source for car number 7, but didn't manage to pull that off in the end, so still pursuing the green and white car. But what that does do is give a little advantage back to August Turbo, as now Papin straight lines Radion. You can't be seen to take a big advantage from that, otherwise you'll start to get the penalties for track limits.
I tell you, that's Andre Vieira is all over the back of Roman Berkler for 3rd place on the road. Remember, Berkler carrying that 10-second penalty. That pass is virtually done. And Alkebasi is a further 5 seconds back. She'll profit 2 from the penalty coming to Roman Berkler, as will Dario Cabanillas. Yuki Tanaka too far back to take advantage.
Lick of flame there from August Turbo's exhaust as he changed down through the box and into Bruxelles corner, but that's just a natural sight, as now a little bit wide coming out of Campus corner. That was the car of Andre Vieira losing a tad of time. It doesn't hugely matter, because Buckler's still going to be given the 10-second penalty up ahead of him, so Vieira should be on the podium.
Yuki Tanaka in the 16 car and Papin in the 18 both get a warning for track limits.
The leaders still together with 6 minutes to go. Vic Stevens able to cope with this pressure, and the constantly present number 3 of Michael Bulsa-Kelly that he shares with Pietro Ferri. Ferri running through the gravel through the first corner of the race. Warning flags you've mentioned. Lucas Papin then, well, that was the moment where he went straight on at Radiant, as Vieira thought about a move up the inside of the penalised Roman Berkler. Vieira doesn't need to force this issue necessarily. I think any chances of Vieira catching Bulsa-Kelly have gone, but he's still going to draw level with the 22 and get ahead as well.
Berkler will have got the message. There's a penalty there. He didn't resist that hardly at all, did he?
Yeah.
This is still, though, the battle for the overall lead. Vic Stevens and Michael Bulsa-Kelly, 0.155 through the last timing beam apart, but it's obviously visual. Beyond that, Andre Vieira now confirmed actually in 3rd place. Roman Berkler will be under pressure in this last 5 minutes of the race for fourth by Amna Al-Khabaisi, who's just 3 seconds back and quicker.
Eco Segre now right with Dario Cabinelas, but remember they are laps apart.
That's to unlap himself, and unfortunately for Eco, actual traffic is costing him time in the fight he's been trying to get on to with Christoph Faber for actual track position, and he's not going to make it. He's run out of time to do that. The gap is just too big. But that, by the way, was the fastest first sector of the race for Eco Segre last time around. His pace through traffic has been extremely good, but I think it's the traffic that's taken the edge off him. Not able to get to overall race leading pace, and of course with that lap lost, a frustrating stint for him.
August Turbos just opened up a little bit of a larger margin now, because Lucas Papin and Simone Riccitelli have been dicing amongst themselves. Papin, remember, on a last chance as far as track limits are concerned, but Turbo, the 18-year-old from Denmark, back for a second dabble into the Ligier European Series, having come out of FIA standard karting. Did that for several years, and this the first foray then into car racing.
The frustration there, by the way, for Eco Segre, you can see where the pace is. Had they not lost the lap, this would have been a battle for 6th place.
Yep, sure would. But to be honest, Segre and Dodds needed to be scoring more points than the, what do you get for 6th, 8th, because their championship rivals, actually, when you include Vic Stevens, who leads, together with his co-driver Jude Peters. Roman Bakler was a race winner yesterday as well. Have Jude and Vic won a race so far this year? I don't believe they have. So this is a first, and certainly putting a stick in the sand regarding their championship possibilities as well.
Still just half a second back, Buccicelli.
Agreed.
And 3 minutes to go. Just looking, make sure that Al-Khabaisi is now with Roman Berkler for 4th place, but remember that's 10 seconds to come. Will still only cost Roman Berkler a further 2 positions. But that is the frustration for the number 6 car, because that would have put them ahead.
Yeah.
That lap loss could prove at the end of this season to be extremely costly.
Well, it was a mistake by Max Dodds. He spun the car for the first time going through La Source. That then meant that the 19 car of Mathis Poulet had to go a tad wide and ended up in the gravel himself. But the mistake from Max Dodds then led to the 6 car having to try and make up for lost time. After the team had worked so hard last night to fix the car, it was badly damaged yesterday in a crash. And ever since Eco Segre has taken it over, it's gone pretty well. But 2 errors, in fact, from Maxwell Dodds have resulted in that 6 car being a lap off the pace, but it's certainly not off the pace in terms of lap time now.
No, it's not. It's right up there in the order that could have earned it close to a podium finish on a day where Roman Berkler's day has been spoiled by that penalty and by whatever has happened during or just after that pit stop. There's Amna Al-Khabaisi right there with him. Doesn't need to pass the car to take the place. We're in the final minute in about 10 seconds time. Last lap here at Spa in the second of 2 races for the Ligier European Series on what happily is a very sunny Sunday morning now.
Yeah, incredibly pleasant at Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes. So we're on to the final lap for Vic Stevens and Michael Buccicelli. Bigger gap this time for the Belgian of about a second. Roman Bakler allowing Amna Al-Khabaisi through there. Although, did he, in fact, because now he's trying to do the drag race.
He's not got any straight line pace at all. Just be interested to find out from Roman what the problem is here.
So through will go the Emirati driver and pick off another position. Amna had a good day's racing yesterday too.
Keep an eye on these trio in this final lap though.
Yep.
20 seconds to go on the clock. It doesn't matter. Last lap for the race leader ahead of them. But this is the lead trio for JS2 R. Bit of a lock up there. What's that going to do? Can the number 7 car, Simone Riccitelli, profit from that? He can't. And actually, with all of that, August Turbo just takes an advantage coming down towards Eau Rouge. Could that be enough if he can get this perfect? He'll carry on that advantage down the Kemmel Straights, almost home. With our race-leading duo. Well, what dramas await in the bus stop for this pair?
So Turbo, having trailed at the start of this race Riccitelli by 4 points, should now go into the championship lead if he stays there. And if Riccitelli can't get ahead of Papin for second, that will be a swing in the other direction of, well, a total of 10 points, giving Turbo 6 points at an advantage, going to Silverstone with 4 races remaining. But clearly that championship battle within JS2R for the drivers is going to bubble continually. Oh, now what about this for a race finish? The traffic has intercepted, and down the inside goes Michael Bulter-Kelly. He's overcooked it though, has he? Because here comes Vic Stevens. It is going to be an absolute drag race to the drive. Vic Stevens is going to win by a nose over Michael Bulter-Kelly. What a grandstand finish that was, Graham.
Well, I did say we might see some dramas into the bus stop. That's exactly what we saw. We saw a lead change with the 27 car of Vic Stevens just getting a bit balked by the 29.
Christoph Weber, it was.
Christoph Weber car, but then the number 3 car taking the advantage into the bus stop, then rather overcooking it in turn 19. Beautifully taken by Vic Stevens. Heads up stuff. What a finish that was.
So Vic Stevens went to the left of Weber, but there was a Ligier's width to the right of Weber, which Bulter-Kelly went for, but then just a bit too hot into the bus stop chicane. Meanwhile, in JS2R, August Turbo should have a big enough advantage over the 2 cars in behind. But what has Riccitelli got planned on Lucas Papin into the bus stop chicane for the final time? He's getting a good drag race, a good toe coming out of Blanchimont. He's going to use the curb as well to try and draw level. Don't put it into a spin, for goodness sake.
Overcooked it, I'm afraid.
But
got too deep in, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but I was frightened that he might lose the car entirely, spin it, and then lose out on 3rd place, but he hasn't, so Riccitelli hangs on to 3rd place. It was a do-or-die manoeuvre. I suppose it was worth the gamble, but this was the incident. Bulter-Kelly, I think, just about keeping his car on the racetrack. Those left-side tyres were the correct side of the white line visually, but then went a bit too deep into the first bit of the bus stop chicane. Excellent drive from Vic Stevens coming out of there to eventually win.
Says he's under investigation for that pass. I think that was okay, the 3 at that point. And actually at one point he's more or less avoiding a collision at one point, but off the final apex. Beautifully done by Vic Stevens. Copybook stuff, what a finish.
Well, we knew he was already good into turn 18, the first bit of the bus stop chicane, after that overtake he pulled on Bulter-Kelly a number of laps ago. But excellent heads-up driving from Vic, and the local knowledge coming out of 19, which means that is the first race victory of the season for Vic Stevens and his teammate Jude Peters. Well done to them, and they have got a little closer now to the top of the championship.
Well, just to confirm, by the way, with the adjusted time, Vic Stevens and Jude Kelly, the 27 car, taking the win from the 3, from the 44 ASM Motorsport car with Andre Vieira. Just caught that the Pegasus car in the worst possible place, didn't he? The 27 car. Amran Al-Khamisi comes through in 4th. Dario Cabanillas is elevated to 5th with the 10-second penalty to Roman Berkler, who then finishes in 6th place. So what could have been, at one point, a dominant win from Berkler, ends up with 6th place, restricts the damage for the number 6 car. That finishes out of the points in 11th after, well, a pretty disastrous Spa meeting for them. The 1, 2, 3... and doling out all sorts of entertainment for us in JS2R, the 5723 events racing car from VSF Sports and LR Motorsport.
So a tremendous event again for the Ligier European Series. The first for a while Sunday morning race, and if is this a sign of things to come, then we'll have a few more of these, please. 4 abreast at the sharp end, but don't tear your eyes away from what was kicking off behind, because Christian Brooks didn't get away well. That delayed Matteo Pianazzola and then someone just unaware of what was going on up ahead was the instantly retired Martin Lacquaman, who piled into the back of Pianazzola. It was a pinball effect, but actually this first corner incident was entirely unrelated, with the car that almost won the race having to skate through the gravel. At that point, the number 3 was in the hands of Pietro Ferri. It was also an early bath for Miguel Romero after he tangled with the La Source incident. That saw Maxwell Dodds heavily delayed as well, although he was able to rejoin at that point on the lead lap. Everyone got eventually going with 47 minutes or so of the race still to go. Unfortunately, Maxwell Dodds was off the road again, though, and this would be a much more costly delay because the rear wheels dug into the gravel trap and he would need outside assistance to return to the race, eventually a lap down. Early jostling for the Pegasus Racing runners, Julien Schell and David Cosenel. That into Le Com corner. But we learned very quickly that Jude Peters and then his co-driver Vic Stevens would be a car to match in this race, and Jude Peters made swift work of Roman Bakler. At this point, I think Vic Stevens had taken over, in fact, yes. So Vic Stevens into a net second place. Something wasn't quite right with Roman Bakler's car. The 22 seemed to lack speed, as then Vic Stevens darted down the inside, a supreme overtake that, to get by Michael Bulsichelli for the lead overall and the lead in JS P4. We would eventually get 3 JS2Rs completely together as well. August Turbo actually managed to get ahead of Lucas Papin down the Kemmel Straight after great drive out of Eau Rouge Radion and then through the little kink. Amna Alcubezi maybe taking advantage of Dario Cabanellas' difficulties in his car. The number 1 seemed to drop off as well in a similar vein to Roman Bakler, who should remain the championship leader once we look at the points later on tonight. Alcubezi down the inside of Bakler, and Bakler was wanting to stay ahead of the Emirati on the exit of La Source, but again didn't have the necessary drive, it seems, down towards Eau Rouge. How about this for a potential very late change, though, in the race lead? This was the final lap coming into the bus stop chicane. Bulsichelli down the inside of a lapped Christoph Weber, but he ran a tad too deep into the chicane, and that enabled Vic Stevens to get great drive off the final corner and across the line, but they were still overlapping pretty much at that point, winning by just over a tenth of a second. Simone Riccitelli, running short of ideas, tried to fling one down the outside, but only caught the gravel and a lot of curb. That would only have been for second place anyway, because the all-black 57 car of August Turbo wins from Lucas Papin, Stephen Palette, with Riccitelli third. Excellent racing, 20 laps. It feels like an awful lot more that we had, because of course the first 15 minutes was taken up by safety car. But local driver Vic Stevens only 17 from Hasselt, winning with Jude Peters, apparently.
Wow.
With Jude Peters.
Well, I have to say,
teammate.
you wait all weekend for a fantastic pass at the bus stop, and then 2 come along at once, and they're both by Vic Stevens. Great stuff in that race win. And it's going to be good to see, if he's just 17, things are going to improve from him as he learns the circuits we're going to. Silverstone should produce great racing for this field. Portimao, we know, always does. This sets things up quite nicely for the end of this season. 4 races still to go, so over 100 points, remember, still to come for the Ligier European Series. It'll be topsy-turvy stuff in the point standings after what's been an eventful Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, I can't wait for Silverstone in about 3 weeks' time. Remember, there's still 100 points up for grabs with 2 races in the UK, 2 races at Portimao to end the season. But Heat 4 for the Ligier European Series has turned into a classic. Unfortunately for some, like Eco Segre and Maxwell Dodds, a weekend to forget after Max found himself in the Lufania gravel and needing to be helped out by the marshals. Roman Bakler thought he might have it his own way yesterday and today. He did get a race win on Saturday. What more, though, can we look forward to in the Ligier European Series? Join us at Silverstone for that. Bye-bye from Graham Goodwin and me, Johnny Palmer.
We are ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the prize-giving ceremony, the Ligier European Series Race 2, here on this marvelous track in Spa-Francorchamps. Sunny track, like usual, almost like usual. Thanks to all of you for being with us this weekend. Let's go with the JS P4 classification, and let's welcome on the third step of the podium, representing the Spanish team ASM Motorsport, coming from Portugal, André Vieira, third place. What a battle it has been for the win in the JS P4 classification. Second place, just for 1/10 of a second, goes to the LR Motorsport duo with Pietro Ferri and Michael Bulzachelli. What a win, what a race. It was so exciting. Number 27 Team Virage with Jude Peters and Vic Stevens at home win this race. We have a team representative, obviously, for the Team Virage. And we will listen to the Polish national anthem for the Team Virage. On a donc les vainqueurs et c'est l'hymne national polonais que l'on va écouter pour le Team Virage avec Vic Stevens et Jude Peters vainqueur. Congratulations, Jude Peters. Congratulations, Vic Stevens. They are the youngest duo in this championship. Winners today for the first time. Please take your trophy and put your trophy in the air for the picture, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our drivers. This was a very exciting race. You have some champagne just in front of you. You know what to do with it, obviously. Let's go for the champagne. Congratulations, Vic Stevens, Jude Peters, winner. Second place for Pietro Ferri and Michael Bulzachelli. And the third place for André Vieira. Voilà pour le top 3 donc de cette course ô combien passionnante. Moins de 2 dixièmes d'écart au moment de passer sur la ligne d'arrivée. On passe maintenant au classement de la catégorie Pro-Am. Vainqueur en Pro-Am, le Pegasus Racing avec le patron pilote Julien Schell et Christophe Weber. Vainqueur de la catégorie Pro-Am du côté des JSP4. Bravo Julien, bravo Christophe. Et un représentant de l'équipe Pegasus Racing. Voilà, prenez vos trophées, hein. On va pouvoir passer directement effectivement à la photo. Un podium de plus pour Pegasus Racing et pour Julien Schell. Bravo Christophe. La bouteille de champagne, Julien, la bouteille. Pour les mécanos au moins. Et puis, vous savez quoi, Pegasus Racing va revenir sur le podium dans la catégorie AM. Pegasus Racing s'impose avec l'autre voiture, la numéro 16, celle de David Kosanel et Yuki Tanaka. Yuki Tanaka, David Kosanel, the AM winners in the JS P4 classification. Well done. Thank you very much. We had a great battle for the win in the JS P4. It was the case as well in the JS2 R. On a eu une superbe bagarre pour la victoire dans la catégorie JS P4. Ça a été le cas également en JS2 R avec 3 candidats à la victoire jusque dans les tout derniers instants de cette épreuve. On va les accueillir évidemment d'ici quelques instants, juste le temps de replacer les trophées sur le podium. So yes indeed, it was a three-way battle, three drivers battle at the end for the win in the JS2 R classification, and the third place for an Italian team and an Italian driver representing LR Motorsport, Simone Riccitelli, third. Vainqueur hier, représentant l'équipe française VSS Sport, les deux Français Lucas Papin, Steven Palette sont deuxième aujourd'hui. He comes from Denmark. He's representing the French team 23 Events Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, Auguste Herbot. And I think he's even... And I even think he's the new championship leader. Congratulations, Auguste Herbot. I know he's Danish, but the team is French. So let's listen to the French national anthem. On écoute la Marseillaise. Félicitations, bravo, Auguste, you can take your trophy. And please have a look at the photographs for a nice picture for the season 2025. Well done, and let's go for the champagne, please. Allons-y, champagne. Congratulations. Prochain rendez-vous Silverstone, bien évidemment, pour la suite d'un championnat passionnant dans la catégorie Ligier JS2 R également. Catégorie Pro-Am. Oh ben tiens, Pegasus Racing, une fois encore, vainqueur en Pro-Am avec Jordan Meyer et Alain Meyer. Père et fils sur le podium dans cette catégorie Pro-Am. Bravo messieurs, et un représentant du Pegasus Racing. On a l'impression Pegasus Racing qui sort de partout quand c'est les podiums. Avec des représentants de team. Bravo messieurs. Double victoire de classe donc dans la catégorie JSP4 et encore une victoire de classe dans la catégorie JS2R. Jordan et Alain Meyer, bravo à vous. Et puis le podium dans la catégorie AM, c'est une équipe française mais ce n'est pas Pegasus. C'est un double podium également pour l'équipe VSS Sport avec cette fois Florian Tellier et Tristan Clay, vainqueurs en AM dans la catégorie Ligier JS2R. Bravo Florian, bravo Tristan. Super photo et puis merci à toutes et tous. La Ligier European Series se poursuivra donc à Silverstone avant la finale de Portimao. Next one will be obviously in Great Britain in Silverstone for the comeback. And we have some champagne. Yeah. Allez, champagne donc. Et puis merci à tous pour votre attention et on vous dit à bientôt. See you soon.